Hi, I'm Ronan Harris from VNV Nation, and you're watching Negative White. Hi there.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm very good, very good. You?
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Excited about the interview. You released Transnational in 2013. What did you want to achieve with this album?
I reached a happy place when I had made Automatic, where I felt very undistracted and I felt able to explore a lot of music styles that I really enjoy, or combinations of music elements. Transnational for me was it was many things. It was a continuation of the place I was in with Automatic. It was a revisit of every VNV album, because I thought there was a double opportunity in the name of using, when I came up with the name for the album, I thought it would be really nice in the production to include elements from every VNV album. Every single song on the album has sounds that were used, or production styles, or some element like maybe a hidden reference, or it's maybe a tribute to a track. I guess there were other territories I wanted to explore. I wanted to go back a little bit into my past. I also wanted to go forward into my future. So I wanted to start off the album going through eras of electronic music I really liked. I even picked out that every song should have an element of a different era of electronic music, even to the very last track being like a sort of a typical sort of ambient orchestration, which is something I grew up with in electronic music, to something like Generator, which is like typical late 80s electronics with a track switch on and off. There's no decoration or anything like that. These bells aren't going to stop, are they?
No, I don't think so.
It's like the most gothic background ever. But yeah, I think when people ask me what did I achieve with it, I said I achieved the last track, because the last track, Teleconnect Part 2, is probably one of my favorite pieces that I've ever made, ever. It might not be everyone's taste. It's a different kind of music, but it's a style of music that I'm more familiar with than I would say a lot of other styles of electronic music. And I had so much fun making it, and it was, every time I hear it, I'm speechless. I don't know how to react to it. It's overpowering.
You mentioned Teleconnect 2, and you mentioned ambient electronic music. I listened to the album, and the 3 songs do not have any lyrics, and also Teleconnect 2 is rare on the song parts. It starts in the end.
Well, it depends on what you regard as a format. If you're expecting the vocals to start early on, then you're looking for a normal song. Mm-hmm. The one thing I was actually really happy about was that I didn't want to commit to the formula for a song. Mm-hmm. I never did in early albums. I wrote my own formats because I didn't really know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the instrumentals have always been a very key part of VNV Nation's music. Every album has them, more or less.
But Transnational sounds also quite rough sometimes and hard. And I wonder where the VNV Nation, the emotional, bittersweet VNV Nation, who gained many fans with songs like Beloved or Illusion, mm-hmm. or Legion. Mm-hmm. Where did that go? You developed, we can talk about.
Hold on a second. The bittersweet. So you mentioned tracks off albums like Empires and Future Perfect, which I kind of guessed that's where this was going to be coming from. And if you know those albums very well, because I've had this question before, you'll know that there is a bittersweet track, and then there are tracks that are incredibly raw, unless of course you find fragments perfect for lovemaking. Or I think Dark Angel is very, very raw, even though it's melodic. When you get onto Future Perfect, you've got Epicenter, you've got Structure. I'm not really, I think you're cherry picking is what we say in English.
Yeah.
You're picking out of your personal, like, songs that have connected with you. Illusion was on the album Judgment, which also had Nemesis, which was a very rock-inspired album. The band hasn't gone anywhere unless you find that If I Was isn't bittersweet, or if you find that Everything isn't bittersweet, or if you find that Off Stage isn't bittersweet, or I don't think VNV Nation has gone anywhere. It's evolved, but it's a matter of if you find a certain album makes an impression with you, everything you hear after that will be interpreted through your personal taste. There's no way to avoid that. It's the same with me, it's the same with you. But I had this reaction with every single album.
Okay.
I can show you that the reviews of Empires were no different to the reviews of Matter and Form. What I find ironic actually is some of the people who were very connected to albums like Empires. I mean, that was what, 15 years ago? If I was going to be making the same music after 15 years, believe me, we wouldn't be doing an interview and we wouldn't be doing a concert because there'd be nobody going to the shows. I like to try out new things. I like to listen to new styles of music anyway. I mean, I'm always listening to new styles of music. But I don't know where the focus on Empires and Future Perfect suddenly appeared from, but it seemed to be somewhere after Automatic, there was a group of people who focused back onto these albums like there was some golden age. There wasn't a golden age. There was me making albums where I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about production. I didn't know anything about how compressors worked or how EQs really properly worked. I could just say, oh, it sounds good to my ears. As far as rough is concerned, Future Perfect was, in terms of production, a demo compared to some of the other albums. It was very homemade. And maybe that's what people enjoy. Maybe that's the sentimental feeling they get from it. But at the time, when I released Empires, I was unknown. Nobody knew who I was. I didn't have anything to prove to anybody. Same thing with Future Perfect. Empires came out and there were all these people complaining that it didn't sound like Praise the Fallen. And all I've ever understood from that is that there are trend people and there are people who actually enjoy music. And the very important thing is this. Trend people are not my audience. They're not the people I make music for. I make music for people who connect with on a philosophical level, on an emotional level. I don't think Transnational was any less or more than any other album. It was different. Like Automatic was different. Some people hated Automatic, and yet you want to know the funny thing was Automatic and Transnational are probably the two most successful albums. And they're the ones with the least marketing and the least campaigning around them. They've just been successful on their own, not for any reason. I run my own label, didn't have to do anything to push it. They went top 10. Couldn't complain about that.
Do you think the more bittersweet or sentimental, emotional songs are more successful? I mean,
no, I've seen full dance floors to Control. And
of course. I mean, it's a matter of taste if VNV Nation is connected with Illusion or is connected with Control. Do you
Most
think?
definitely. Yeah. Well, I think everybody listens to an album differently. You can take 10 different reviews of an album or 10 different, not critic reviews, but fan reviews. And all 10 will concentrate on totally different things. I had people saying they heard Judgment and they said, oh, it sounds like you took one big step back. And other people saying you took one big step forward. And you're like, okay, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The only question that matters is, do you like it or not? If you like it, I'm really, really happy. I hope you get something out of it. If you don't, okay, no problem. There are other bands to listen to. And I've always been like that. But I had this, I also think memory is a strange thing. People remember music very, very differently 10 years later or 15 years later or 20 years later. You have different associations. And it's based on your experiences, how you felt at the time in your life when you heard a song made you connect with a band. If you heard Beloved at a time where, I have to be honest, there were maybe 200 people coming to our shows when we played the Future Perfect album tour. And next thing is suddenly, I didn't even want to play the song live. I was having a very hard time with the label we were with. I was very, very unhappy, in a really bad place. And one night, we didn't tell anybody. We didn't tell the sound engineer, didn't tell the light guy we're playing the song, and I just turned around to Mark and said, we're going to play Beloved. And I played it in Berlin, and people stood there and stared at us. And for all the emotional association with this, the thing I was saying was, you had all these people going, oh, this is chick music. This is music for guys who just want to my heart hurts. And people who think I'm somehow weak, believe me, there's no way. There's no way I can be accused of that. Being able to express your feelings as a man, being able to deal with them properly and not hide them or turn them into anger and aggression because you don't know how to speak to people or you don't know how to make sense of your own emotions, I think is a big failing. I like being able to express your feelings, being able to process them. That's where I get my strength from. So it's just what I do. This is music I make, but there were people who had a big problem with Illusion. There were people who had a big problem with Beloved. People who had a big problem with Standing. Do I care? Actually, no, not really.
I heard many people say you can listen to any VNV Nation album. It sounds just like VNV Nation, and no one else sounds like VNV Nation. Let's talk about your inspiration, your musical inspiration. So,
oh God, that's too difficult to say. I could never even give people an answer to that back in '97. I can't give you an answer any better now. I listen to so many different styles of music, and there are times when I've sat down with friends and gone through an album and explained to them that this track, this element was inspired by this sequence by this, and when they hear where all these ideas are coming from, it shocks them sometimes, and sometimes it makes them smile. And I have this need inside to say something, whether it's I'm saying it to myself or I'm saying it to other people. I just need to hear myself say the words. And that's what drives me to make music.
Okay.
I write songs in my head whether I want to or not. There's no way to stop that. But yeah, as far as influences, I think it's, I think the problem is that VNV Nation confuses some people because they're not sure what category to put it in. What's funny is that that's been the story of my life. Some people either get me or I confuse them. They don't know what kind of person I am and what box to put me in. I don't fit easily into a box at all. And those people who've known me the longest said that I'm very hard for them to predict. I'm very hard to read a lot of times because when they think they have an idea of what I'm thinking or who I am, I will go and surprise them and go do something completely different. So
is that
it's not deliberate, it's just how I am.
Okay.
There's nothing I can do about it. I wish, believe me, my life would have been a lot easier if I'd been able to switch it on and off. But this is what I am, and these are the cards I was dealt with. So the thing is, with the music, I've met people who are very confused by it because they're in a scene, and this is a popular band in the scene, and they want to be able to describe it, to understand it, to put it in a box so they can say whether they like it or they don't. And they don't like it, or they don't understand it, or it's confusing for them, or it's making them feel things, or it's not making them feel things. Whatever. They get little reactions to it. But the net result is, if you saw the mails that we get, if you saw if you heard the comments from people about what this music does for them, and how and I've been experiencing that since the 90s. It is the reason I do, and I love doing what I do. Because it's not about a trend, or to be cool, or to be, I never wanted to be cool, I never thought my music was cool, or pioneering, or anything. I write from a place in my heart. And that's all I do. And I don't want to be anything else. And I think other people try to make VNV Nation something it's not, or they try to put it in a place where they can describe it, and that's wrong. I'm not doing that. They're doing that. I write music I like, I put it out, I present it, I don't do any more than that. You have the choice as to whether you like it or not, or whether you connect with it. I hope you'll connect with it. But my experience at concerts is that it reminds a lot of people of why they're alive. If they choose to forget that when they walk outside, that's not my point, that's their point. But I hope that they will remember why they, that they felt different when they were in school. They felt different all their life and thought, I'm a thinking, feeling person. I experience things on a very deep level and never forget that. But there's a side of it I don't like, which is those people who want to feel sad and want to feel dark and can't stand smiles and can't stand happiness. There's a lot to be happy about. There's a difference between being stupid and happy, being silly because you're just a silly person, or being intelligently choosing to be that, or having a joke and having a laugh. We like nerd humor, So when I'm smiling at concerts, when I'm having a good time, there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
So
of course not.
Telephone. Go ahead.
Okay, VNV Nation exists now for nearly 25 years.
Wow, yeah.
A long time. Are you proud of what you reached so far?
Without a doubt. I'm amazed. I actually sit there sometimes thinking, how, I don't know, it's like the universe came together and made all this happen, because I couldn't tell you. People ask me what it is I do. I don't know. There was an officer in the American Army who was based in Iraq, a gentleman in his 40s, and he brought all his VNV albums with him, and he played them for his friends and all his comrades. And I have a lot of friends in the services in America. Anyway, he was killed in action, and I'd been writing with him, and we'd written emails, and I've had that experience with a number of people in Afghanistan, Iraq, and various other places. And all his friends, all his officer friends, when they were back in the US, they all came to the concerts, they all came up to say hello. They're very interesting people, the military. And I felt very honored, very flattered, and very moved, very sad in a way that this person's life, he passes on his obsession with this music, and they felt because it was a duty for them to listen to this. And one gentleman is a major, he's in his 50s, normally doesn't like this music, and he said it gave him words to deal with a situation where he was never able to say to his father what he felt about his father. And his father had died like a long time ago. And here he was, a man in his late 50s, a major in the US Army, telling me what music is giving him as words. And I have stories and experiences like that all the time.
Are there any decisions you regret?
Yeah, there will always be. I don't believe in I could have, I would have. There's just knowing you made a decision that was wrong, but you made it. That's going to bring you to the next place. There's no changing it. There was no changing it. It was going to happen. When you start to get into that mental state, and I don't want to, and I don't like to, then you can start to analyze all the things you've done in your life that you would do differently.
Can you name the most important change in the history of VNV Nation? Or is everything flowing and some sort of
nobody's life flows. You can live a very boring life with no external influences. You can live in a valley somewhere, and that's the only way you're going to guarantee that it's going to stay very stable and calm. You can try to avoid the gun, but the bullet finds you soon enough. The point is that in what I do, there's always going to be some kind of energy. There's going to be some motion and movement. Nothing flows. That's the great thing about life, is that it flows anyway, but it'll go up and down. And there are things that will happen to you have no control over. There's good things, there's bad things.
You sing I want control. Do you like being having control?
That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that. The most common, before I answer your question, the most common one is, I don't understand why you say flick the switch to automatic, I want control. That's a complication. I said, actually no, because if you understood what the song was about, anyway, it doesn't matter. I had a very interesting experience recently. I have very high standards for myself, and I work very hard at what I do. I trust people when I know that they know what they're doing. If they have nothing to do with me, that's great. They can go and do their life the way they want to. But when they're working with me, I need them to work not as hard as me, but if they have a job, that they do it without waiting for someone else to do it for them or waiting for someone else to show them what to do. I don't want to watch people. I don't want to check them. But you have experiences where you realize that there are some people who just are looking for a way not to work. So I had an experience I've always been accused of being a control freak. And I said, that's actually incorrect. I would prefer to give these jobs to people, but I've had too many experiences where I've given them to people and they've fucked up really badly and cost me time or cost me money. So if I know that I can do the job as well myself, I'll do it. So anyway, we were on tour in the US, and one of the guys who's worked with me for I would say about 10, 15 years said, I just realized that you're not a control freak. And I went, good, thank you, because could you tell someone else? Because they all seem to think this. And he said, we all know what we're doing. You have not said to anybody, are you okay, or what's going on, or looked over anyone's shoulder. And I went, yeah, I know, I trust you. That's the thing. Trust is not just blindly given. You have to earn it, especially in what I do. I've had people working with us, no offense to them, they're great people, wonderful, wonderful people, but they spent too much time worrying about what other people were doing and not enough time concentrating on their own job. Yeah, if something goes wrong, I feel really bad about it. I feel it kicks me, it hurts me, because I want people to have the show that they came for. There's no reason for us to be on the stage without the audience. And I want to make the audience a part. You've seen us live.
Yeah.
So you know that I want the audience to be a part of the show. I want them somehow to feel connected with it. That's very important for me, because that's why we're there. We're playing songs for their enjoyment. But I want them to not just stand there and listen to it like they're in a living room. I want them to be a part of it. I want them to feel like they're dancing around in the bathroom before they go out one night, you know? That's what I mean, you know? Sorry. I'm just off the camera. I'm looking at this one over here going, there we go. Anyway, so.
Okay. And what might the future bring for VNV Nation?
Next is the classical album.
Yeah.
I did a concert with a classical orchestra. I do a tour, I did a number of shows with a classical pianist. And I'm taking that up to a very big level. I'm a big fan of a style of music, I guess you'd call it post-classical. It's this kind of ambient classical style. I've been a fan of this music, I think, since the 70s or 80s. People just making this very soft and sometimes very sad or melancholic form of like classically inspired music that usually involves a lot of electronics. And I'm working with one of the artists from that genre who's a hero of mine, a legend, and one of the coolest people I've ever met. And I was in a cafe one day and I walked in and he was reading a book, and I sat down to have a coffee and I just looked at him and I thought, oh my God, I know who that is. It's like one of my heroes, and I don't know how to talk to people when I respect their music. I know people have that problem talking to me, and I'm like, no, it's okay. Honestly, I'm a normal person. I promise. I swear, look. See, I bleed. See, you know, like, what normal guy? What amazing genius would smack himself in the face? See, I'm an idiot. I'm just like everyone else. Anyway. And I went up to this guy and I said, I don't know how to talk to you. And I said, excuse me, I'm going to sound really weird. And I said, I take your music with me all over the world. I listen to it before I go to bed. I listen to it all day when I need a quiet moment, when I'm working programming or doing graphics or something. I said, I'm listening to your music. You've really inspired me to go a long way. And he looked up at me and he went, fucking hell, are you the guy from VNV Nation? I'm like, so it was one of those moments. So yeah, we're working together on things. I'm writing one of the pieces myself.
For the classical album, yeah.
I'm writing. I have help. Don't worry. Everybody has a score director who looks at their score and says, okay, and they help me with the writing of the scoring of the music.
So there is there are completely new songs coming for the.
Oh no, it's classical
It's
interpretations
Okay. Yeah.
of VNV Nation's music. I've done this already with an orchestra for the Gothic Meets Classic concert, if you have seen that.
On a YouTube video, yes.
It's something extraordinary. I've never been in that moment, that experience in my life. It's overwhelming. If you think VNV Nation's music is emotional,
wait for it.
Right. I swear to you, we did the classical thing. It's just me and a piano player. And I've never seen so many people cry in my life. It's really weird. I'm not there to make people cry. I'm not like, okay, that's all we want to do is make everybody sad in the house. Okay? Take all the knives. take all the sharp objects away. It's a beautifully cathartic, emotional thing. What I mean was, the classical thing was, I've dreamt of this since I was 7 years old. I've loved classical music since I was very young. And when I was 7, I just thought I'd love to sing with an orchestra. I love to hear the instruments. I tried learning to play piano. I had a very evil piano teacher, so that didn't work out. And in the end, I got to perform with an orchestra, and it was possibly the most amazing moment of my life. I think the main thought in my head was, oh crap, what's it going to be like going and doing a normal VNV concert after this? So, very strange experience. They're two worlds, but I was probably as emotional as everybody in the audience, because I got to hear my lyrics slowly with this beautiful orchestra playing. It was, too much. Any other questions? Or?
No.
Really?
Done.
Is that it? Oh, okay.